Well, hi there and welcome to this live stream. It's a 45-minute live stream that we're running. And my name's Frazer Chetsterman. I'm one of the directors of FuturePrint. And I have with me Mr. Guy Newcombe of Archipelago. Hi, Guy.
Well, it's great to be here, Frazer, and it's great to be able to welcome so many people to this live stream.
Yeah, fantastic. Let me just explain to you what we're doing in the live stream and what you're going to see and what you're going to hear. Firstly, we're here really to look at the challenge of plastics and how paper can be a solution to that if we can waterproof it. And part of today's discussion will be about coating paper to make it waterproof. We'll spend some time with some of the team from Archipelago, and it's a young team. You'll see them on a couple of the videos that we've run, and they'll explain a little bit more about what they do. You'll also get a short animation that's an explainer of the concept of coating, end-to-end coating. And then what we'll do is we'll have, at the end of the 30 minutes, we'll have around 15 minutes for question time. So throughout this live stream, you have a chance, if you want to just pose a question and just put your questions on Slider using the code. I think you'll be able to see that now. And then you'll be able to pose a question, which Guy will take at the end of the 30 minutes or so. So we know that there is a massive challenge, don't we, for plastics. Plastics is used so much across the packaging industry. And what Guy's going to talk a bit about today is about how he can solve the problem of plastics through using coating of paper to create waterproof paper. So, Guy, let's start by asking you that first question, which is, what is the problem we face and how can you solve it?
Certainly. Well, every year we use something like 150 million tonnes of plastic. Everything we buy comes in a container, and about a third of things we buy are packaged in plastic. And you tot up all of that plastic, it's 150 million tonnes. Now, there's a big problem with plastic. There was an article about it in The Guardian just this morning, that it's actually very difficult to recycle plastic. And the vast majority, 90%, is either buried or burnt or thrown into the sea. So that's a huge problem. We've got 135 million tonnes of plastic that we're not reusing. It's difficult to imagine what that is. And somebody asked me, well, how many elephants is that, Guy?
Of course.
It's actually about 30 million elephants. And when you realise that there are only 500,000 elephants on the whole Earth, it gives you an idea that we've got 60 times more plastic every year than we have elephants. That gives you a clue. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
So how do we get around it? Well, we can move to something that's more sustainable, something that we can reuse, like paper. Mm-hmm. But there's a problem with paper, because paper's not waterproof. So you put food into paper, it'll leak. Mm. And that's where Powerdrop comes in. We coat the paper in such a way that it's waterproof and oil-proof, but at the same time, you can recycle it just as you can with paper.
Brilliant. So in essence, Powerdrop is the way in which you can end-to-end coat paper-based products to make them waterproof.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, let's take a little look at an animation that we did earlier, and it'll give you a bit more of an explanation about how Powerdrop works.
Today, plastic is used for almost every kind of packaging imaginable. Every year, 150 million tonnes of plastic is created through energy-intensive processes. And then that plastic is used to make packages for food and beverages, pharmaceuticals, and consumer products. Unfortunately, less than 10% of plastic packaging is recycled, leaving the remaining 135 million tonnes as waste. Typically, this waste is burnt, buried in landfills, or dumped into our oceans. There is a solution to this problem. Create packages from paper and plant fibres, which are sustainable and can be recycled more easily. But there's a catch. Unlike plastic, paper and plant fibres are not waterproof. Enter Archipelago's Powerdrop technology and coating process. Powerdrop can coat 3D-shaped paper and moulded fibre to add a protective, waterproof layer and create a package without compromising recyclability. At the heart of Powerdrop is a finely engineered cylinder with many thousands of precision nozzles, the Powerdrop drum. The Powerdrop drum spins continuously. The nozzles are loaded up with coating material. The coating material is jetted out at just the right time onto the moulded fibre. And the best part, Powerdrop is designed for high throughput with minimal waste and minimal downtime. One Powerdrop machine can coat over 100 million packages a year. Powerdrop can handle even the stickiest coating materials. With Powerdrop, your packages remain recyclable and eco-friendly, helping you reliably transition from plastic to sustainable packaging, paving the way to a greener future for everyone.
It was a lovely little video, really explained it for us in very simple terms, so good to see that. I guess people will be thinking, yeah, but plastics are with us, they're part of our world, aren't they? What's driving this change now?
You're absolutely right. We've been using plastics for about 60 years. It really started about 15 years ago when Ellen MacArthur was sailing around the world, and she noticed that even when she was thousands of miles from anywhere, she was surrounded by plastic. And this started the movement to move away from plastic and to clean up not just the oceans, but the world in general.
Sure.
And there has been a campaign that's been very successful, that's brought in big businesses, leading businesses like L'Oreal, Diageo, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. And together, there's a movement. So big companies, governments, consumers, supermarkets, all working together to actually see how we can solve this problem in a real, sustainable way.
So does that mean Archipelago are working with the brands, the coating companies? What are you doing? Are you choosing one set of people to work with, or are you across all of them?
Well, we're working with everybody,
sure.
So that we're listening to the government, we're influencing governments, we're talking to the big companies, Diageo, L'Oreal, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. But one group of people we're particularly close to are the coatings companies, because they know the nitty-gritty of what you really need to do to roll this out. Because we're talking about not just hundreds of millions, we're talking about hundreds of billions
sure.
of containers. So it's a huge undertaking of which everyone needs to play their part.
Yeah. And in terms of playing their part, we did a recent video with your team to find out a little bit more about what they think about the Powerdrop technology. Let's watch it now.
What does Powerdrop actually solve? What issues, what problems does it solve?
It's pretty crazy. So we use 150 million tons of plastic packaging every year, yet 91% of this is burnt, buried or thrown in the sea. 91%.
Wow.
Solution, paper-based packaging is both sustainable and recyclable, but it does not offer the same barrier properties as plastic. But Powerdrop is enabling the coating of these paper packages with a functional barrier coating, which enables both these paper packages to be functional and be recycled within the existing paper recycling infrastructure.
Annually, we use 150 million tons of plastic packaging a year. Only 9% of them are actually recycled, and the rest of them are burned, buried, or thrown into the sea, which is a really big problem. And we think that the paper-based or fiber-based packaging can actually solve that problem. But inherently, those substrates are water absorbent. Powerdrop actually can provide the barrier on that substrate to make it oil-proof and waterproof.
Each year, we use 150 million tons of plastic packaging, and only 9% of it is getting recycled. And rest of them are either burned, buried, or thrown into the sea. So this is a huge problem. And if you look at the paper or fiber-based packaging, it is recyclable and sustainable. But there is a problem. There is always a problem, because plastic is waterproof, whereas paper is inherently water absorbing. So our Powerdrop technology enables this paper and fiber-based packaging. We make it waterproof and oil-proof. At the same time, they can be recycled using conventional shredding and repulping technologies.
Okay, so I was actually going to ask you what makes Powerdrop so special, but you've sort of answered that question already.
Okay.
So you're saying that it's environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
And it just helps with all those issues, and it coats paper to make it to give it the properties of plastic.
Plastic, yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Powerdrop is a high transfer efficiency non-contact coater. And what do I mean by high transfer efficiency? I mean a single Powerdrop machine will save 7,000 tons of CO2 a year in comparison to a spray coater. Powerdrop jets high concentration coatings which enable quicker drying and less cost in the drying process of the coating. Powerdrop jets coating precisely where you need it and only where you need it. A high throughput machine that can coat 100 million packages per year.
So in a nutshell, what does Archipelago actually sell?
So Archipelago provides an end-to-end industrial coating solution.
So Archipelago with Powerdrop sells an end-to-end industrial coating solution.
So Archipelago provides an end-to-end coating solution which is based around a Powerdrop Coater. So before the system leaves Archipelago, we demonstrate the whole process to our customers.
Fantastic. So imagine I'm a customer. I have a container. I'm trying to produce some makeup, let's say. I've got a makeup container.
Yeah.
I can come to Archipelago. I can give you my little container and say I need this to be coated and I need it to be waterproof. And you, as Archipelago, will provide all the machines, all the processes and everything.
Yes.
So end to end, from beginning to end.
From beginning to end. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Great little video. Always lovely to hear from young people in our industry talking with such passion about what they do. And thank you to Elena Knight from FuturePrint for doing that recording. Just before we go into some more questions, I just want to remind people that there is a poll, and that's on Slider. And the poll that we're going to be asking is a very specific question to you. Would you pay more for sustainable paper packaging than you would for plastic packaging? So it's a yes or no answer. Would you pay more for sustainable paper-based packaging than plastic packaging? Just give us a yes or no answer. That's on the poll on Slider. You should be able to see that. And we are still taking questions. So post them if you want to post us a question. Before we go into the next question, I just want to ask you, because we looked at some of the interesting applications there. You've obviously got a few in your hand. Explain a bit more about what you can actually coat.
Yes, certainly. So I'll show these up to the camera. Some people watching will recognise them. This is a tray made in Sweden. It's made through a dry moulding process. This tray has been made in the US. It's made through a wet moulding process. This container came from a French customer, but is actually made in China using a wet moulding process.
What is that used for?
This is a food container.
Right.
And it's worth commenting that the paper industry is global. China is actually a huge player in paper. Scandinavia is a huge leader, and then you've got North America. But actually, you can travel all around the world, and you'll see either pine or eucalyptus is being grown and it's being turned into pulp. And also sugarcane is being used. This container is made out of sugarcane. So one of the great things about this move to paper, or more widely, fibre packaging, is that we're using local materials. We're not having to ship materials a long way. We're not having to dig into the ground. They are growing, and generally they're carbon negative. They're actually sucking carbon out of the ground.
Very good. Now, your team talked a lot about end-to-end coating. So what do you mean by this? Explain a bit more about that end-to-end coating.
Yeah, certainly. Well, coating a container like this to make it pinhole-free is actually a very complicated process. And you need to be aware that to make a pinhole-free coating on a container like this, you need to look very carefully at the surface of the container itself, the liquid that's going onto it, the coating process, and also the details of drying. So there are four key elements there: the substrate, the coating process, and the drying.
Yep.
And at Archipelago, we look after all of those four elements and all of the processes. And to give an example, Lekshmi, who you saw on the video, is an expert at high-speed photography. So she is bringing high-speed photography to look at the details
Sure.
of the flowing process and also the drying and the curing processes.
Yeah.
So we look at the whole thing, and that's really important, that we're able to offer customers a complete coating solution.
Got it. And I guess you're becoming quite well known for being able to coat 3D shapes.
Yes. So a key element of this is the 3D element.
Yeah.
Coating, I wouldn't say coating's flat, but coating flat things is easy,
Yeah.
but coating flat things is a solved problem.
Yeah.
We're one of the very few organisations that can coat these shaped containers, and some of the containers we're coating are a lot more shaped than this.
Yeah, and that's a challenge, isn't it?
It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that we've risen to and largely solved.
Yeah, and I'm quite keen to see you doing this, and we have got a little short video which coats egg boxes. So we'll see that now.
Right. I'm standing next to the 200mm Powerdrop Coater. This is a precision coating device that can coat your packages at speed with precision. Right at the core of the system is the Powerdrop drum. This is a cylinder that contains 100,000 precision nozzles. In operation, the drum rotates and is loaded with fluid at the 9 o'clock position. The loading is precise but also controlled. We can put as little as 10 grams per square metre into the drum or as much as 500. We control it continuously. We can put in low viscosity fluids, we can put in high viscosity fluids. Those fluids are loaded into the drum rotates, and when it reaches the 6 o'clock position, the Powerdrop blower blows those drops out in a very controlled way onto the package. As we look into that ejection process, you can see the droplets coming down in a very controlled way. They land, there is no bounce off. 97% of what is ejected lands exactly where you want it. You can see here the egg box coming through. So we load the egg box at the front, it passes under the Powerdrop drum, and it comes out at the end precisely coated on all of the three-dimensional surfaces. And we run egg box after egg box through the system, and every egg box is coated the same.
Another great little video. It kind of explains how complex shapes can be coated, which is great. I guess now, actually, we've got something like 90, 91, 95 people watching this. If people are sitting out there kind of thinking, how do I engage with Archipelago? What's the process if I've got a challenge I want to solve using this technology? So I'm a potential customer. What happens next?
Yeah, well, certainly. Well, it's probably worth just explaining how we meet people in the first place.
Yeah.
So we go to conferences. We were in the Fibre conference in Stockholm. We were in the Specialty Papers conference in Vienna, and we're talking, we're listening, and the people we particularly work closely with are the coatings companies. So we're very close to the large coatings companies, and they send us their materials, and we characterise them, and we use them to coat the containers that I've just shown you. And through them, they're really our eyes and ears. They talk to their customers tell them their problems, and they say, well, you really need to speak to Archipelago. So most of our customers come to us through that route. Mm-hmm. But if you're not speaking to a coating company and you're just watching this, then the route to getting in contact with us is to get in contact with me directly. Sure. I'm pretty responsive. I try to respond within 24 hours. And then we set up a call, explain to me what it is you want to do, what the shape is, whether you're putting in coffee or whether you're putting in yogurt, and then we'd really take it from there. And we'd plot out, demonstrating coating at small numbers, and then we scale that up. But one of the important things that we're now doing, that people are asking us to do, is coat greater and greater numbers of these containers.
And I guess, you know, you talk about 100 million potential. You know, is that something that is a reality? Is that, you know?
Yes, certainly. I mean, the machine just here, that can coat 100 million containers a year. And so you know, the reality is sitting right here. This is a production machine.
Got it. And I guess the other people out there might be thinking, well, yeah, okay, but then what happens next? How do the guys service it? How do they manage it? How easy is it to integrate into my production process? So give us a bit of
well, again, that's all part of the end-to-end service. So we understand the numbers. Are we looking to make 100,000, 100 million, 500 million? Because the way you would approach that is different. And we design the whole machine with that objective in mind. We design the machine, we specify the machine, we build the machine, and then we support the machine. Now, the machine is designed to be simple to look after. Any part can be changed in less than 5 minutes, and we teach our customers how to do that. So we don't need to visit the customer to fix it. The customer can fix it, but we're supporting it through Zoom, through Teams.
Sure, got it. So customers, very important, and relationship with the customers is important. We thought we'd give a chance for your team to explain a bit more about the relationship they have with customers. So here's another little video for you.
Great.
So tell me, Peadar, how do you work with your customer?
Yeah, so we at Archipelago really value our customers and the relationship we build with them. So we try from the very start to understand both the needs of our customer and the needs of our customer's customer.
Okay, so your customer's customer could be someone like L'Oreal, for example.
That's a good example.
So what I think is normally customers come to us is what coatings they want and also what substrate and what droplet they want. And we develop the coating process based on our technology, experience, and also the know-how.
Okay, fantastic. So if I'm a customer, I can come to you with my container and you will coat it for me. You will provide the machinery, the processes, everything end to end to develop my product.
Yeah, absolutely. Archipelago provides not only the Powerdrop machine, but also built-in process.
So we begin by making sure that we understand our customer and what the customer's clients needs. So we are always mindful of their requirements and we try to deliver it in the best possible way.
Okay, so basically if I were a customer and I have a container and I need it to be waterproof and recyclable, I could come to you and you would put the machines, the processes and everything in place, end-to-end process, so that I would have my product at the end and could go to market fairly quickly with that.
Yes, end-to-end delivery. Yeah, we offer end-to-end delivery to all our customers.
So could you give us a few examples of what Powerdrop can coat?
So Powerdrop can coat a very large range of 3D containers that are both dry fiber molded, wet pulp molded containers, with both deep draw, shallow trays. Powerdrop has proven to coat trays of all these types.
So for example, we can actually coat wet pulp and dry perp substrates.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm assuming it's really helpful if you've got makeup or anything where you've got a wet contents going onto something that you want to keep dry.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Wonderful.
Yes, actually here at Archipelago, we coat both dry molded and wet molded paper-based packaging, and they make them waterproof and oil-proof. So we have a variety of packages like this one. This called a rectangular dimension, and you can see the side edge walls. So our Powerdrop technology is capable of coating such three-dimensional paper-based packaging.
So I've heard the word pinhole-free process. Can you explain a bit more about that and what that means?
Yeah, so the coating must have a low shear viscosity of less than 200 millipascal seconds. So this allows the coating to flow when it lands. The drops when they land must coalesce to form this continuous film. And another key part of enabling these drops to coalesce and form is that they must have a low contact angle so they must be wet. The coating must wet the substrate.
Actually, a pinhole-free coating is a coating which is uniform and continuous, and which makes the substrate waterproof and oil-proof. So here at Archipelago, we have developed 4 golden rules to achieve pinhole-free coatings. The first one is the coating liquid should wet the substrate. And the second one, the low shear viscosity of the coating liquid should be less than 200 millipascal seconds. And third one, the droplets should coalesce to form a uniform thin coating on the substrate. And the final one, since we coat three-dimensional containers, the coating should stay on the side walls.
The coating has to wet the substrate. To do that, we actually measure the contact angle, which has to be low contact angle, so we'll actually wet it. And also, when it jets, the liquid has to coalesce on the substrate, because we jet on the really steep sidewalls, so coating has to be not flow on the sidewalls. And to make sure the liquid flows when it jets, we ensure that the low shear is less than 200 millipascal per second.
Great, fantastic. Another super video. So thank you for the team for pulling those together. We're now going to just talk a little bit about the questions, because we've had a lot of questions in. But before we go to questions, I just want to bring up the poll, because we've had a nice response on the poll. Remember what the question was: would you pay more for sustainable paper-based packaging than you would for plastic packaging? And although the percentages are interesting, 85 and 18, I don't know whether my maths is not very good, but certainly it looks like a yes, a fairly resounding yes for your type of...
That's great to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you couldn't be happier with that. 39 people responded, so that's lovely to see that. So good to see. It's one of those things, isn't it? You hope in a way that people would say yes, we would pay a little bit more, not too much more, a little bit more. Cool, fantastic. Let's go to some of the questions. We've had a lot of questions in, and we're going to go through a few of them because I think they're quite interesting to hear. Firstly, can you use any type of coating? That's question one. And then B part of question is, what are the limitations in terms of rheology?
Okay, well, that's a great question. So let's talk about the second question first, the rheology. So we jet water, and then the highest viscosity that actually leaves the drum for those rheologists who are tuned in is 2,000 millipascal seconds. So that's way higher. If there are any inkjetters watching, that's about 200 times more viscous than an inkjet ink. A lot more viscous than olive oil. Olive oil's around about 100. So we're talking about getting towards honey, so it's pretty viscous. Yeah. And in fact, we've jetted hot melt glues, and we do that by heating up the drum. So we can heat up the drum and jet things that are really very viscous.
Very close.
But the thing there, and it depends what you want. If you want a continuous coating, you need to keep the rheology when it lands on your substrate down so it flows. Now, there are things you can do to get around that. If you're happy to heat your substrate up to 40, 50 degrees, then it will help it flow. But in terms of the rheologies that actually we jet out the drum, it's 1 to 2,000 millipascal seconds. And then to answer the other question about limitations, we jet a huge range of materials. We can make the drum out of stainless steel. So we can be jetting materials that are corrosive. Yeah. We can jet materials that are very salty, that are acidic, and so we've jetted hundreds of materials, and the things that really the only things that we find particularly difficult are things that are really very, very viscous indeed. I mean, things that you can stand on.
Amazing technology, really.
Yeah.
Amazing technology. I just wondered, where did this technology come from?
Where did it come from?
Yeah, where did you get this idea from? It's just amazing technology.
The company, our background is inventing inkjet, inventing systems that shoot droplets through the air. And we were very keen that when we started, that we weren't pushing a technology, we were listening to customers. And we went out, we talked to 50 people that we knew very well, we wrote down exactly what they said, and we detected that they wanted to do two things: jet adhesive and replace spray coating. And so we sat down in a room around a table and just said, well, how can we do this? How can we go about it? And we started with a single nozzle, we loaded it up, we jetted it out with compressed air, and that was the beginning of Powerdrop. We realised that if we could put it around a cylinder, that we could turn it into a continuous process. We did that quite quickly. I should say we got a lot of support, and we continue to get a lot of support from Innovate UK. So Innovate UK have been with us from the beginning, and they continue to support us.
And one of the other really positive things about the company, I'm not just saying this, is how many young people you have working for this organisation. And often they come from a scientific engineering and inkjet background. So you're really drawing on that, continuously testing out, trying these things, evolving the product in effect.
We one of the things we really push is bringing young people into the business.
That's good. And that's a good thing generally across the print sector. So that's good to hear. Let's go back to the questions. You showed shallow trays in one of the videos. How can Powerdrop coat steep-sided containers?
Yes, well, there are really two separate questions there. There's how do you, I mean, the egg box that you saw actually does have quite steep sides. But we can go out, we are coating things much closer to coffee cups. We don't give away all the details of how we do this, but we can certainly coat things and create very high quality coatings on containers that are twice as tall as they are wide.
Yeah, brilliant. Another question. So obviously people are always interested in speed. How fast is an industrial scale Powerdrop coater in sort of meters per minute?
Well, we can go very fast, but we're not going very fast for this particular application. We can go at many meters a second. We've run the drum that you've seen behind me at 4 meters per second. So we can run, that's 240 meters a minute. So we can go very fast, and we can jet the substrate under it even faster because it's non-contact. But because for these coating applications, you're getting a pinhole-free coating, and the way we do that, we're running at about a meter a second, that kind of speed, and that's where the 100 million containers a year. That's the core of that productivity. So those watching might say, well, can you make it go wider, or can you make it go faster? And certainly we're making the machine that you see behind us going out to a width of 600 millimeters. And for people who want to go wider than that, we're putting two drums together. So we can go wider and we can go faster.
Sure. And for anyone who doesn't know, you're based in Cambridge in the UK. So global reach for you if you're looking at customers?
Absolutely. Yes, we're open to doing business everywhere. As I mentioned, the paper business is everywhere. It's in China, it's in Europe, it's huge in South America, it's huge in North America, and it's not just wood, it's sugarcane, and in India there's a huge amount of activity using all manner of agricultural byproducts. And so this is a movement. This, as I said, this is a global movement.
And as you mentioned, you go to quite a lot of events and speak at those, so people can often catch you at events.
Yes.
I know that Lekshmi is speaking at the FuturePrint event in Cambridge in a couple of weeks' time, and you're often out there talking. So people can often catch you, but we'll show you at the end contact details for Guy if you want to know more. Next question, can you jet onto a wet coating layer?
Yes, that's a real strength of the Powerdrop technology, that we can do wet on wet, that we can put a second layer down onto a first layer without disrupting the first layer. And that's important because we're creating not just waterproof coatings, we're creating oil-proof coatings, gas barriers, and we're able to put these different liquids on top of each other and get multi-layer barriers.
Brilliant. I guess you've talked a lot about sustainability. It's one of the key factors here, isn't it? Because, you know, paper-based rather than plastic is obviously a sustainable story. But can your coated packages be recycled?
Yeah, it's a really, really important need.
Yeah.
And that's really all about getting the coating thickness to less than 5% of the thickness of the underlying paper. So if you keep the coating layer below 5%, and that's something that we do very regularly, you're able to recycle those containers and that's really important, using conventional existing recycling streams.
Have you talked a little bit about viscosities? That's one of the issues of what you can jet. Have you mentioned that?
Yes, well, viscosity and rheology, they're really two words that describe the same thing. But
are there any limitations, do you think?
Well, as I say, if the thing is so viscous that you can stand on it, then you know. So you know, if you for people in the UK. If you think of the toffee and a curly whirly, we can't jet that.
Yeah, of course. So are there any more questions? We're just looking at our team to see whether there are any. Thank you very much. Oh, we've got another one. They're coming in thick and fast. So how do you ensure uniformity on a 3D container? Because that's quite a challenge, isn't it?
Oh, it's a big challenge, yes. And really, again, this is where a lot of people ask us, why are we called Archipelago?
Why are you called Archipelago? I should have asked that right at the beginning. I mean, it's a strange name.
And the reason is that we're not a single technology. If going back to your earlier question about how we came across Powerdrop, we weren't pushing a technology. We were listening to customer needs, and we recognised that it wasn't just one thing that would solve a problem. That to coat a 3D shaped container, you need to bring in more than just the core Powerdrop. So part of that is the know-how. We have a lot of know-how around wetting, around film forming, and part of it is around the details of how we present the substrate to the Powerdrop coater, so you're getting so the film is not just formed, but it remains.
Fantastic. So we'll just see whether there's any other questions. I think we've got a couple more, and then we will wrap up. Can you also print on flat paper bags? Good question.
Yes, printing onto flat. Printing onto flat is something that we do, absolutely. And possibly that question just really reminded me of some other questions that people often ask us. We can coat. There's the range of materials. We coat water-based things. Mm-hmm. We coat oil-based things. We coat so-called UV paints. So that is coatings that cure under the influence of UV light. We coat coatings that are cured by electron beam, which is a form of, almost like a form of UV, but very specialised for very special applications. We've jetted metal particles. We can get very good metal foil-like finishes. So we're able to jet. Really, as I say, if it flows, we can jet it.
Brilliant. I think we're going to come to the last question now. It's one of the crucial questions. There are obviously people been listening, watching this, thinking, OK, let's talk more about buying one of these pieces of technology. What's the details there? What are we looking at? Give us a rough guideline on costings. How does it normally work? What's the process if someone's seriously considering buying this?
Yeah, well, the core machine that we're standing by here is a 300mm print swathe machine. and it retails for £300,000.
Right.
So that is the
Starting point.
That is the price of the core machine.
Yep.
If we go out to 400 millimetres, that's £400,000.
Yep.
And that gets you the core machine. And what is the core machine? That's the drum, that is the filler, that is the blower, that is the drive motor, all the drive electronics, and the fluidics that pump things to it.
Yeah. So pretty much you're buying the system. And
Yes.
It's in. Yeah. Brilliant. Listen, Guy, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this live stream with you. I hope people out there have enjoyed it. It's obviously very new for us at FuturePrint to do a live stream, and Guy's given us the go-ahead to do it, and we've loved doing it. It's been very interesting. If you want to contact Guy, there'll be more details at the end of this production. Thank you very much to the team here, the Play team who've been working with us. Thank you to Guy and his team, to Elena Knight, who's pulled together the videos of your team, which has been super. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll see Lekshmi at our FuturePrint conference at the Muller Centre on the 6th and 7th of November. You can catch more Archipelago team in action there. Guy, absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Been great. Thank you very much, Frazer.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you.